two aircraft that are now backtracking the runway represent an era of French naval flying fondly remembered by many who have spent time in that service. And then after them, so they're lined up and ready to go. Same engines in both of these aircraft, a pair of Turbomeca Marboré 2 turbojets. Not the most powerful, so quite a lengthy takeoff roll for these two aeroplanes, but plenty of noise, and a very distinctive noise at that. From leading them off, the Morane-Saulnier MS760 Paris, accompanied by the Fouga CM175 Zephyr. The Zephyr is the detailed aircraft closest to us in that pair. Both of those, as I say, became these days a combination of civil and military. Now, we have in the lead the Paris, followed by the Zephyr. Most famous marks in French aviation history, as legendary in France as, say, de Howland is in the UK. Post-war, it designed a small jet trainer called the MS755 Fleuret meaning fencing foil. That was to meet a requirement of the Armée de l'Air, the French Air Force. That was met by the Fouga CM175 Magister, from which the Zephyr that I'll be talking about shortly was derived. But Morane-Saulnier decided to develop the Fleuret design as a four-seat light transport and communications aircraft with a view to use not just by militaries potentially, but also by civil customers. And that appeared with a first flight in July 1954 as the MS760 Paris, and that's the aircraft that's leading the formation about to run in from our left. Early on, the Paris was ordered in quantity by the French military, which took 50 examples for use as liaison aircraft, and the French Naval Air Arm was the first operator with 14 of them, but they didn't just use them as light transports and communications machines. They had various training tasks still, training in instrument flying, refresher training for officers who'd been on a non-flying staff tour, that sort of thing. They were also used sometimes as radar targets. The French Navy had them in service until 1997. The French Air Force, meanwhile, which had 36 MS760s, kept them on until 2001, and the Argentinian Air Force, which had them built under license in Argentina, had its Paris in service until 2007. 219 were built. It wasn't very successful as a commercial light jet. There were hopes of sales in the US at a time when corporate aircraft were really burgeoning as an industry. They came virtually to nothing. Frank Sinatra is believed to have owned one at one time, though. The Dutch government's civilian flying school operated a few Paris. The Cranfield College of Aeronautics, now Cranfield University, had one as a flying laboratory. More powerful Mark II failed to help sales much on the civilian scene, and the six-seat development won no orders at all. But like most Morane-Saulnier aircraft, its flying qualities were hugely praised, and an early flight test of one in Flight magazine in 1956 saw the test pilot Mark Lambert writing, "I rolled it as cautiously as if I was turning over a crate of eggs. I need not have worried. The aircraft behaved perfectly, showing no unnatural tendency to fall out of the roll or do anything strange. I rolled again several times, taking care, for the passenger's sake, to apply the minimum of negative G, and felt rather pleased at performing at least a minor aerobatic manoeuvre in a jet aircraft carrying 4 people. I still look back on my trip into Paris as one of the most pleasant I have had in any kind of executive aircraft. As far as the French military was concerned, I was talking a few years ago to a retired senior Air Force officer, Colonel Pierre-Alain Antoine, who said she was a good liaison aircraft for senior officers, pressurised, with good performance, but with a short range with 4 aboard. Nonetheless, a tremendous part of French post-war aviation history. Following it, the very distinctive shape of the Zéphyr, Gaston Fouga founded an aircraft company in 1935. He employed 2 noted aircraft engineers, Robert Castello and Pierre Mauboussin, hence the CM for Castello et Mauboussin designation that the CM175 has. They started building gliders. One of them, the CM8, 1949, had the tail arrangement. The idea was mainly to reduce the drag. One of those was fitted with a small turbomeca jet engine. It performed very well, and a twin-jet version was conceived. By then, the design had moved on to the CM170 jet trainer. That first flew in 1952, and it was ordered into production for the French Air Force, the Armée de l'Air, as the Magister. It was hugely popular with its pilots due to its delightful handling and a very effective lead-in to the frontline jets of the day. It was most famous, the Magister, as the mount from 1964 to 1980 of the French National Aerobatic Team, the Patrouille de France. They were sold also to 17 other countries. France's naval air arm wanted a jet for carrier training, and the Magister seemed an ideal choice. And they gave it an arrestor hook and attachment points for catapult launchers. The structure was generally beefed up, the undercarriage reinforced, and it was given sliding canopies which would be open for operations on the carrier to facilitate the escape, if necessary, of the crew due to the lack of ejection seats. It also has a slightly less powerful version of the Morane engine than the Air Force Magister. And there's a definite British connection with the Zephyr, stationed forward in Sussex, and aboard 2 Royal Navy carriers, HMS Bulwark and HMS Eagle. Nearly 5,300 carrier traps when they were retired. Training of French Navy carrier fighter pilots switched to the US Navy. Here it comes past with that arrestor hook dangling from the rear. Escadrille de Servitude 59S and the last Zéphyrs is dedicated to its upkeep in flying condition, number 28 being the serial number on the side, and they enjoy a great deal of support and assistance from people associated with the Zéphyr in service, of whom there were many. This Paris, meanwhile, is one of 8 of the original 14 supplied to the French Navy that was still in service on retirement in 1997. It then went through a long and complex process to put it on the French Civil Register with a lot of requirements that needed to be overcome relating to demilitarization of the aeroplane and so forth. 2 aircraft forming up, once again out to our left, and they'll be coming in for one more run in, and from that the brake to land. So here comes the Paris Interland, flown by Georges Toussaint and Thomas Meslin. Now the controls of the Zephyr, meanwhile, is retired French Navy Admiral Xavier Houdaille. He learned to flyer carrier Mirage 2000 for a time. He later became the director of the Rafale program for the French Navy. He, as I say, is now retired, but he said to me last night that, while other retired senior officers like to play golf or whatever, he prefers to fly this classic jet, touching down now, the CM175 Zephyr. And the characteristic whistle of the Morane engine fades away. We now go